They say money can buy anything, but can it buy love? In a busy African city, a billionaire's son spent all he had searching for affection, yet found only empty smiles and broken promises. But when he returned to his father's village, he met a poor orphan girl whose kindness cost nothing, yet was worth everything. Their love would face envy, betrayal, and fire. A proud rival would stop at nothing to tear them apart, and only humility, sacrifice, and forgiveness could save them. This is not just a story of love, it is a story of pride and envy, of strength and weakness, of how true affection can heal a community. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear will touch your heart, challenge your mind, and remind every family that the greatest riches are not found in gold, but in love. The night breeze swept through the tall glass windows of Raymond's mansion, carrying with it the noise of the restless city. Cars honked far below, laughter spilled from bars, and music echoed from hidden corners of town. Yet inside the grand house, silence ruled. Raymond sat alone at the edge of his king-sized bed, staring at his reflection in the mirror. He had everything a young man could wish for: wealth, power, the son of a billionaire who owned estates across Africa. But his eyes carried an emptiness money could not hide. Raymond had spent years searching for love. From the most elegant ladies at city parties to the daughters of influential leaders, he had tried. He flew to countries, bought gifts worth millions, paid for grand dinners, and sponsored vacations. They came close, admired his wealth, and smiled at his expensive lifestyle. But when he listened closely, all he could hear in their words was greed. They wanted his name, his father's empire, his credit card, but not his heart. Tonight, he remembered the last girl. She had looked at him with shining eyes, promising loyalty. He had believed her. But just weeks later, he found her in the arms of another man, boasting about how much money she had collected from him. His heart grew heavy that day, and his trust in love faded like smoke in Harmattan wind. Is this what love is? He asked himself quietly. An endless market where my money is the only value? The loneliness cut deeper than the sharpest blade. For the first time in his life, he realized that wealth could build castles, but not a home, could buy company, but not affection. At breakfast the next morning, his father, Mr. Williams, noticed his son's silence. The old man, a giant in business, placed his cup of tea down and studied him. "Raymond," he said firmly, "your eyes show a man drowning. Tell me, what troubles you?" Raymond sighed. "Father, I have spent too much searching for love in this city. Yet all I meet are women who love what I own, not who I am." "I am tired," Mr. Williams leaned back. "My son, the city blinds with lights, but the heart often shines in the quiet places. Perhaps what you seek cannot be found here. Sometimes true love hides in the humble corners we ignore." Those words struck Raymond like a bell. He had always believed happiness was tied to the city's glamour, yet his father hinted otherwise. That evening, Raymond sat alone again, thinking of the small village where his late mother once came from. He had not been there in years, but he remembered the dusty roads, the singing of birds at dawn, and the innocence of people who lived without envy. By the third day, his decision was made. He told his father, "I will travel to the village. I need peace, and maybe, just maybe, I will find a different meaning of love there." The journey was long, the roads bumpy, and the air carried the smell of firewood and wet earth. When Raymond finally arrived, The village welcomed him with curious eyes. Children ran after his car, laughing. Women, carrying baskets, paused to greet him. Men sitting under mango trees nodded with respect. But among the faces, his eyes caught one girl. She wore a simple dress, her feet dusty from walking barefoot. She balanced a clay pot on her head with ease. Her eyes met his briefly, and in them, he saw something he had never seen in the city: purity. No greed, no calculation, just calm strength. Raymond felt his heart pause for a moment. That night, as the moon rose over the village, Raymond sat outside his guest house. The crickets sang, and the stars scattered across the sky like diamonds. He remembered her face, the way she walked with dignity though she had nothing. For the first time in years, he smiled, not because of wealth, but because of hope. And so began the story of a billionaire's son, tired of buying love, who was about to discover affection in the most unexpected place. The morning sun rose gently over the village, painting the sky with orange strokes. Birds flew low, and the sound of roosters echoed from homesteads. For Raymond, it was a different kind of morning. No car horns, no skyscrapers blocking the view, only the calm rhythm of nature. He felt lighter, though he had not yet spoken to anyone deeply. But his heart reminded him of the girl with the clay pot. Her name, he soon learned from children playing nearby, was Emily. She was known by everyone in the village, not because she had wealth or power, but because she had survived life's cruelties with grace. Emily was an orphan. Her parents had died when she was still a child. Relatives took her in, but instead of love, they gave her chores, harsh words, and little kindness. She cooked, fetched water, tilled farmland, and cared for younger cousins, yet received almost nothing in return. Many in the village pitied her, but she never complained. She carried her burdens with a smile, and that quiet strength drew respect. That morning, as Raymond strolled through the village, he saw her again by the stream. She bent gracefully as she filled her pot with water, her reflection shining on the ripples. For a moment, he hesitated. In the city, women rushed to him. Here, he was the one hesitating, unsure how to approach someone who looked so different. Finally, he stepped closer. "Good morning," he said, his voice gentle. Emily turned, surprised. Her eyes studied him carefully, his clean clothes, his polished shoes that looked strange in the muddy path. "Good morning," she replied softly. He tried to smile, but words failed him. "Do you fetch water here every day?" She looked at him as if the question was unnecessary. "Yes. If I don't fetch water, who will? Life doesn't wait." Her tone wasn't rude, but honest. It humbled Raymond. In the city, women often sought his attention. Here, Emily spoke as though he was no one special. And strangely, he admired it. As she lifted the heavy pot onto her head, Raymond instinctively reached out. "Let me help." She shook her head. "No, it is my duty." And with surprising strength, she walked away. Raymond stood frozen, his hands hanging awkwardly. Yet in that moment, his respect for her deepened. Later that evening, sitting under the mango tree with village elders, Raymond heard whispers. Some women muttered that Emily was cursed, for how else could someone be left orphaned and mistreated, yet still walk with pride? Others said she was blessed, for no hardship had broken her. Raymond listened carefully. Each word painted a clearer picture of who Emily truly was. Stronger than gold, purer than diamonds. But there was danger too. One of the wealthiest young men in the village, Patrick, had been eyeing Emily for a long time. Patrick was arrogant, believing his father's farmland made him the king of the village. He had approached Emily many times, promising her gifts, even threatening her when she refused. Still, she never gave him her heart. That night, under the stars, Raymond thought about it. For the first time, he realized his challenge. In the city, women fought for his attention. Here, he would need to prove himself, not with money, not with power, but with sincerity. And deep inside, he feared, what if Emily never saw him as different from the greedy men she had rejected? Raymond lay awake long into the night, not knowing that his decision to pursue Emily's affection would soon stir battles he had never faced before. Battles of pride, jealousy, and the true meaning of sacrifice. The village square was alive with drums that evening. Women returned from the farms. Men gathered under lanterns, and children danced barefoot on the dusty ground. Raymond, still adjusting to the village rhythm, watched with curiosity. The air felt freer than the city's suffocating noise, yet he sensed a storm approaching. He saw Emily helping older women distribute food. She laughed lightly, her simple joy brighter than any jewelry. Raymond admired her from a distance, but he wasn't the only one watching. From the edge of the square, Patrick leaned against a tree, his eyes sharp as a hawk's. Patrick's wealth in the village made him arrogant. His family's yam barns overflowed, his father's cattle grazed across vast fields, and many parents pushed their daughters toward him. But Emily was different. She never bowed, never accepted his gifts. That rejection burned his pride like fire. When Patrick noticed Raymond's gaze on Emily, his chest tightened with jealousy. He whispered to a friend beside him, "Who is this stranger? His shoes shine like city men, his clothes too neat. Why is he looking at Emily as though she belongs to him?" His friend shrugged. "I hear he is the son of a great man from the city. Maybe he is here to rest." Patrick's lips curled. Rest? Number. He is here to compete with me. I will not allow it. Meanwhile, Raymond gathered courage and walked toward Emily. She noticed him, but kept her eyes on the work. "You work very hard," he said softly. She glanced at him. "Work is life. Without it, who are we?" Her words were simple, but they carried a truth Raymond had never considered. In the city, people defined themselves by wealth. Here, worth was measured by effort and character. Before Raymond could speak again, Patrick appeared, his chest puffed like a rooster. "Emily, Tish," he said loudly, "you forgot the basket you borrowed from my mother. Return it tomorrow, or don't, unless you want me to come for it myself." Emily stiffened. She understood the hidden threat in his tone. "I will return it," she replied firmly. Patrick turned his attention to Raymond, his eyes narrowing. "And who are you? A stranger wandering our land, staring at our women like you own them." The square grew quiet. People turned to watch. Raymond stood his ground. "I am Raymond. I came to this village seeking peace, not trouble." Patrick smirked. "Peace? Then keep your eyes away from Emily. She belongs here, not to some city man who knows nothing about our life." Emily's face flushed, half in anger, half in shame. "Patrick," she said sharply, "I do not belong to you or anyone. I am free to decide my own path." The crowd murmured. Some nodded in agreement. Others whispered about Patrick's temper. Patrick clenched his fists, but forced a laugh. "We shall see." He walked away, his pride wounded. That night, Emily sat outside her small hut, staring at the stars. She felt torn. Raymond's kindness touched her, but she feared getting caught between two men, one arrogant, the other mysterious. Could she trust this stranger from the city? Or would he eventually see her as just another poor girl to pity? On the other side of the village, Raymond lay awake. For the first time, he faced competition not in business, but in love. Patrick's warning echoed in his ears. Yet he knew one truth. If he wanted Emily's heart, he would need to prove that his intentions were genuine. But proving love in the village was not like in the city. Here, money meant little. Here, actions spoke louder than riches. And Patrick, with his deep roots, would not surrender easily. The battle for Emily's heart had begun. The next morning, the village awoke with its usual rhythm. Roosters crowed, women swept their compounds, and children chased each other with bare feet. But beneath the calm, whispers spread like wind in dry grass. The stranger, Raymond, had clashed with Patrick over Emily. Everyone wanted to see what would happen next. Raymond rose early. He had not come here to fight, yet he knew Patrick would not rest. More importantly, he remembered Emily's strength, her refusal to be owned by anyone. That memory pushed him to a decision. If she is ever to see my heart, it must not be through words alone. Later that day, as Raymond walked through the village, he saw men gathered near the stream, repairing a broken wooden bridge. Without it, children would struggle to cross to school, and women carrying water would risk injury. He stepped closer. "Can I help?" he asked. The men exchanged doubtful glances. His soft hands and clean clothes spoke of privilege, not labor. One man chuckled, "This work is not for city men." Raymond smiled faintly. "Maybe it is time I learn." He picked up a log, his muscles straining under the weight. The villagers watched in surprise. Sweat soaked his shirt. His palms blistered, but he refused to quit. Hour after hour, he worked alongside them, hammering, lifting, tying ropes. By sunset, the bridge stood firm again. Children cheered as they tested it. The men clapped Raymond on the back, their laughter filled with respect. For the first time, they saw not just a billionaire's son, but a man willing to humble himself. Emily, who had passed by carrying firewood, paused. She watched quietly, her heart shifting. This was not the behavior of a man who sought to buy affection. This was a man trying to earn it. That evening, as the sky turned purple with dusk, Emily approached him. "Your hands," she said softly, noticing the fresh blisters. Raymond laughed lightly. "They are nothing. Today, I built more than a bridge. I built a lesson." Emily tilted her head. "And what is that?" "That strength is not measured by money or pride, but by service." Her lips curved into a faint smile. She said nothing more, but in her silence there was respect. Not far away, Patrick watched with burning eyes. He saw how the villagers praised Raymond, how Emily's gaze softened. Anger coiled inside him like a snake. He muttered to himself, "If the stranger wants a fight, then I will give him one. He will regret stepping into my path." That night, Patrick gathered two of his friends. Under the dim moonlight, he spoke with bitterness. "Tomorrow, we shall teach the city man his place. If he wants to act like a villager, then he must taste the hardship we live with. Let us see if his clean hands survive it." Meanwhile, Raymond lay on his mat, exhausted but content. For the first time, he felt part of something bigger than himself. Not wealth, not fame, but community. He closed his eyes with one prayer in his heart, that Emily would one day see beyond his name and into his soul. But he had no idea that danger already lurked in the shadows. The sun was still yawning when the village began to stir. Women swept their yards, goats bleated, and smoke curled from cooking fires. But Patrick was already awake, pacing like a lion in a cage. His pride had been wounded. The stranger from the city, Raymond, had stolen the attention of the villagers and, worse, the respect of Emily. Patrick spat into the dust. "I will humble him," he muttered. By mid-morning, he and his friends set their plan into motion. They carried baskets of palm fruits deep into the forest and placed them along a rough path where hunters rarely went. Then they smeared the ground with oil, making it slippery, and hid behind the bushes. "If he thinks he is a villager," Patrick said with a grin, "let him fetch these palm fruits. By the time he slips and injures himself, the whole village will laugh at him." Meanwhile, Raymond was unaware of the trap. After greeting the elders, he noticed children trying to gather firewood, but struggling with the heavy branches. Without thinking, he joined them. The sight of a city man carrying bundles on his shoulders made villagers laugh, but not mockingly, rather with growing admiration. Word reached Emily, and she found herself smiling despite her worries. Raymond was different, yet she feared for him too. She knew Patrick's pride was dangerous, and men like him never stayed quiet for long. By afternoon, Patrick's friends approached Raymond, pretending to be friendly. "Brother," one of them said, "we saw baskets of palm fruits left behind in the forest. We were on our way to fetch them, but since you are strong and willing, perhaps you can join us. The village will surely praise you if you help." Raymond thought for a moment. Helping meant serving the community again. Without suspicion, he agreed. When they arrived at the forest path, the men pushed him forward. "Go on, you are the strong one. We will follow." As Raymond stepped on the oiled ground, his feet slipped. He fell hard, his arms scraping against stones. Pain shot through him, but he clenched his teeth. He tried to rise, only to slip again. Laughter erupted from the bushes as Patrick and his friends revealed themselves. "Look at the city man," Patrick shouted, clapping mockingly. "He thinks he is strong, but he cannot even stand like a villager." "Go back to your city, stranger." Raymond's chest tightened with both pain and shame. But then he heard a voice. "Stop it, Patrick!" Emily rushed onto the path, her eyes blazing with anger. She helped Raymond to his feet, ignoring Patrick's laughter. "Is this how you prove yourself a man? By setting traps for another? Shame on you." The villagers who had followed to see what was happening murmured. Some shook their heads at Patrick's cruelty. Others whispered that Raymond had shown courage by not retaliating. Raymond, still catching his breath, looked Patrick in the eyes. "If you think pain will chase me away, you are wrong. True strength is not in pushing others down, but in rising again." Emily supported him as they walked back toward the village. Patrick stood frozen, his pride shattered by her public defense of the stranger. His friends whispered uneasily, realizing the plan had backfired. That night, Emily cleaned Raymond's wound with water and herbs. He winced, but managed to smile. "You didn't have to defend me," he said softly. "I did," Emily replied, her voice steady. "Because what you are trying to do is not weakness. It is honor." Her words sank deep into his heart. For the first time, Raymond felt that Emily saw beyond his wealth and into his true intentions. But Patrick was not finished. As he sat alone under the dark sky, his anger grew. "If humiliation cannot break him," he whispered, "then I will find another way. Emily will never choose him over me." The battle for love had only just begun, and now the whole village was watching. The village market was alive with voices the next morning. Traders shouted prices, goats bleated, and women bargained with fiery determination. Raymond walked through slowly, his bandaged arm reminding him of Patrick's cruelty. Yet, instead of bitterness, his heart carried quiet gratitude for Emily's defense and her gentle care the night before. Emily, however, was restless. She had seen city men before, visiting with promises and leaving with broken trust. She could not allow herself to believe Raymond too quickly. What if he is only acting different to win my heart, she thought. What if he returns to the city and forgets me? That day, she decided to test him. Carrying a basket of cassava, she approached him. "Raymond," she said calmly, "if you truly wish to live as we do, then come with me tomorrow. Help me on the farm." Raymond nodded without hesitation. "I will." The next morning, the sun had barely risen when Emily led him to her small farm. The land stretched wide, with weeds high and stubborn. The hoe in her hand was worn smooth by years of use. She handed another to him. "Here, show me you can work, not just speak." Raymond gripped it, his palms still raw from blisters. The first strike of the hoe sent a sharp pain shooting through his arm. Sweat broke quickly across his face, but he said nothing. Hour after hour, they worked side by side. Emily moved with practiced ease. Raymond stumbled but kept going. His shirt clung to his body, soaked in sweat, but his determination never wavered. At midday, Emily stopped, wiping her brow. She watched him struggle, expecting him to quit, but when she saw him lift the hoe again, gritting his teeth, her heart stirred. Why would a man of wealth choose pain unless he truly cared? Finally, she called out, "That is enough. Sit." They sat under a tree, sharing roasted maize she had brought. For the first time, Raymond laughed openly. "I think your hoe is stronger than me." Emily chuckled softly. "The land does not lie. It shows who has patience." Their laughter faded into a comfortable silence. Then Emily's eyes grew serious. "Raymond, why are you doing this? You could return to the city, surround yourself with riches, and live like a king. Why lower yourself to suffer with us?" Raymond looked at her, his eyes steady. "Because wealth has given me everything except love. I have searched in places of gold and glass, and all I found was emptiness. Here with you, I see something I have never seen before: truth." Emily's heart trembled, but she held her calm. "Words are easy, Raymond. They fly with the wind, but actions stay." "I know," he said firmly. "That is why I am here, not to impress you, but to show you who I really am." As they returned to the village, people noticed Raymond's dusty clothes and calloused hands. Murmurs spread, "The city man works like one of us." Respect grew, and so did Patrick's fury. That evening, Patrick cornered Emily near the stream. His voice was sharp. "Why do you walk with him? Do you not see he is only pretending? He will leave you, Emily, like a dry leaf in Harmattan." Emily stood tall. "If he pretends, time will show it." "But what about you, Patrick? Have you ever done anything without pride in your heart?" Her words cut him deeper than a blade. He stormed away, swearing under his breath. From afar, Raymond saw the exchange. His fists clenched, not out of jealousy, but from a burning desire to protect Emily from Patrick's harassment. He knew then that his battle was not only to win her heart, but also to shield her from those who sought to crush her spirit. And though Emily had tested him, she too knew a quiet truth. Raymond was unlike any man she had ever met. The village square buzzed with life that evening. Drummers beat rhythms that echoed through the air. Women prepared food for a communal feast, and children chased each other around the firelight. It was a night of gathering, when the whole community came together. But beneath the laughter, tension coiled like a hidden snake. Patrick had been waiting for this moment. He had watched Raymond gain respect day by day, helping with the bridge, working on Emily's farm, even earning smiles from the elders. Patrick's pride could not bear it any longer. As the drums fell silent for announcements, Patrick rose to his feet. His voice rang loud and sharp. "People of our village, tonight I have something to say." All eyes turned. Emily froze, her heart uneasy. Raymond stood quietly, sensing trouble. Patrick lifted his chin. "We have welcomed a stranger into our midst. He claims he seeks peace, yet his eyes are fixed on our women, on Emily, the orphan who does not belong to him. I ask you, should a man from the city come here to take what belongs to us?" Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some nodded, stirred by his words. Others frowned at his arrogance. Before the whispers settled, Patrick pointed at Raymond. "If you are truly worthy, prove it. Face me in a test of strength before this whole village. Let the people see who deserves honor and who deserves shame." The challenge hung heavy in the air. No man in the village ever refused such a call. To refuse meant weakness. To accept meant danger. Raymond's chest tightened. He had not come for pride or battle, but Patrick had left him no choice. Slowly, he stood. His voice was calm. "I did not come to fight, but if this is the only way to prove my heart, then I accept." Gasps echoed. Emily's eyes widened with fear. She whispered, "Raymond, you don't have to," but it was too late. The crowd was already gathering in a circle. The test was simple but brutal. Wrestling. 2 men entered the ring and only one walked out victorious. Patrick smiled with cruel confidence. He was strong, broad-shouldered, and experienced. Raymond, though fit, was still healing from blisters and wounds. The drums began again, low and steady. Patrick charged like a bull, slamming into Raymond. Dust rose as the 2 men struggled. Patrick's strength pushed Raymond to the ground, and the crowd roared. "Stay down, city man," Patrick mocked, pressing his weight. But Raymond's eyes burned with determination. He thought of Emily, of the villagers who doubted him, of his own heart that longed for truth. Summoning every ounce of strength, he twisted, slipping free from Patrick's hold. The crowd gasped. Patrick growled and attacked again, but Raymond dodged, using skill instead of brute force. With one sharp move, he pulled Patrick off balance. Patrick crashed into the dust, his pride breaking louder than his fall. The crowd erupted in cheers. Some shouted Raymond's name. Others laughed at Patrick's defeat. Patrick lay stunned, humiliated before everyone. His fists clenched, but his body refused to rise. Raymond extended a hand. "Patrick, this was never about pride. It was about respect. You can hate me, but you cannot stop truth." Patrick slapped his hand away and stormed out, his shame heavier than chains. Emily rushed forward, her eyes shining with relief. She placed a hand on Raymond's arm. "You didn't fight to boast. You fought with honor." The whole village saw it. Raymond breathed deeply, his body sore, but his heart lighter. He had not only stood his ground, he had proven that courage was not measured by wealth, but by integrity. But as the villagers celebrated, Patrick sat alone in the darkness, plotting. His defeat had only deepened his rage. "If strength cannot bring him down," he hissed, "then I will strike where it hurts most." The night ended in joy, but a storm was gathering beyond the firelight. The village had not stopped talking about the wrestling match. Everywhere Raymond walked, people greeted him with new respect. Children pointed and whispered, "That is the man who defeated Patrick." Elders nodded at him with approval. But while the village celebrated, Patrick's heart festered with bitterness. His pride, once unshaken, now lay in pieces. He could not bear the thought of Emily admiring Raymond, nor of the villagers lifting a stranger above him. That night, Patrick sat under a tree with his two loyal friends. His voice was sharp, his eyes wild. "I will not strike Raymond directly again. He has strength and luck. No, this time I will strike where he is weakest. I will take Emily from him. If I cannot have her, no one will." The men exchanged uneasy glances but dared not argue. The next day, Emily rose early to fetch water at the stream. The morning mist curled above the surface, and birds sang softly in the trees. She was alone, humming a quiet tune when she sensed movement. Before she could react, Patrick stepped from the bushes, blocking her path. His friends appeared behind, their faces hard. Emily's heart pounded. She held the clay pot tightly. "What do you want, Patrick?" Patrick's smile was cold. "What I have always wanted. You. But since you have chosen to shame me before the village, you will learn the price of defiance." Fear gripped her, but she stood tall. "You cannot force love, Patrick. If you think this makes you a man, you are wrong." His eyes darkened. "Then let us see if Raymond comes to rescue you when I take what you cherish most, your dignity." Emily's cry echoed through the trees as the men moved closer. But before they could touch her, heavy footsteps thundered down the path. "Patrick!" Raymond's voice rang like thunder. The men froze. Raymond stood at the edge of the clearing, his face fierce, his fists clenched. He had followed Emily that morning, sensing something was wrong, after hearing villagers whisper that Patrick had been watching her. Patrick sneered. "So the city man comes again. Always at the right time, eh? Do you think you can protect her forever?" Raymond stepped forward slowly. His voice was calm, but each word cut like a blade. "I do not need to protect her forever, only long enough for you to understand that no woman is a prize to be forced. Love is given freely or not at all." Patrick lunged, but Raymond was faster. With one swift strike, he knocked Patrick to the ground. The friends tried to help, but Raymond's fury gave him strength. He fought with purpose, not pride. Within moments, Patrick and his men stumbled back, defeated. Emily, trembling but unbroken, clutched her pot tightly. Raymond placed himself between her and Patrick, his voice steady. "Leave her, Patrick. If you truly want respect, earn it. But if you continue down this path, you will lose more than pride. You will lose your soul." For a moment, silence filled the clearing. Then, Patrick spat into the dust. "This is not the end." He stormed off with his friends, his pride wounded deeper than ever. Emily's eyes filled with tears as she turned to Raymond. "You saved me again." Raymond shook his head gently. "No, Emily. You saved yourself with your courage to stand up to him. I only stood beside you." Her tears fell freely then, not from fear, but from the weight of being truly seen. In that moment, something unspoken passed between them. Not wealth, not power, just affection, born of respect and sacrifice. But the danger was far from over. For while Patrick had been defeated once more, his anger now burned with a darker flame. And in the days to come, it would test not only Raymond's love, but the unity of the entire village. The sun was high when the news spread like wildfire. Patrick had tried to attack Emily at the stream, and Raymond had once again stood in her defense. The villagers gathered in small groups, whispering with anger and disbelief. Some demanded punishment, others feared the feud would tear the village apart. That evening, the gong sounded. Its deep echoes rolled across the fields, summoning everyone to the elders' court under the great baobab tree. Men, women, and children poured into the square. The drummers were silent, the air heavy with expectation. On carved stools sat the elders, their faces stern and wise. Elder Thomas, the oldest among them, lifted his staff. His voice was steady as stone. "Patrick, son of our soil, and Raymond, stranger from the city, you stand before us because your quarrel has disturbed the peace of this village. We will hear the truth, and then we will decide." Patrick stepped forward first, his face full of forced humility. "Elders, I am not guilty. This city man came here with his wealth and trickery, turning hearts against me. Emily is ours, not his. I only tried to warn her, but he attacked me." Gasps rose from the crowd. Some believed him, others shook their heads, knowing his pride. Then Emily came forward, her voice trembling but strong. "Elders, I speak the truth. Patrick did not come to warn me. He came with threats. He wanted to force me to love him, but love cannot be forced. Raymond only defended me. He has shown kindness, respect, and humility since he arrived. Patrick has shown none." The people murmured louder now, many nodding in agreement. Finally, Raymond stepped out. His voice was calm, his words simple. "I do not seek to take from this village. I came searching for peace, and here I found love. Not because of riches, but because of the heart. If I am not welcome, I will leave, but I will not let lies destroy Emily's dignity or this village's unity." The elders whispered among themselves. Elder Thomas raised his hand for silence. "This quarrel is not about land or wealth, but about pride and love. Patrick, you have allowed envy to poison your heart. Raymond, though a stranger, has walked with humility. Emily, though young, has shown wisdom greater than many." He paused, then struck his staff on the ground. "But peace cannot be built on words alone. We, the elders, will set a test, one that will reveal who carries true honor. Both Patrick and Raymond will serve the village for 7 days, not with pride or money, but with sweat and sacrifice. At the end, the people themselves will speak who has proven worthy." The crowd erupted in murmurs. A public test. It had been many years since the elders had demanded such a thing. Patrick's jaw tightened. He wanted to refuse, but he could not shame himself further. He bowed stiffly. "I accept." Raymond bowed with respect. "I accept also. Let the truth be seen." Elder Thomas nodded. "Then it is decided. Tomorrow, the test begins." That night, as the villagers returned to their homes, Emily sat by the fire with Raymond. Worry flickered in her eyes. Patrick will not stop, even if he fails. His anger is like fire. It will burn until nothing is left. Raymond took her hand gently. "Then we must face the fire together. And when it is over, let it be said that love, not hate, shaped this village's story." But in the shadows beyond the firelight, Patrick whispered to his friends. His voice was sharp with venom. "I will not only win this test, I will destroy him before the 7 days are over." The village slept uneasily that night, knowing the days ahead would test not only two men, but the very soul of their community. The morning sun rose bright and golden as the village gathered once more at the square. The elders sat beneath the baobab tree, their staffs resting firmly by their sides. The air was thick with expectation. Elder Thomas raised his hand. "Patrick and Raymond, The time of your test has come. For 7 days, you will serve this village. You will not be judged by wealth or words, but by sweat, sacrifice, and humility. At the end, the people will decide. The crowd cheered. Children clapped with excitement. Women leaned forward, eager to see who would prove himself. The first task was announced: repairing the broken paths leading to the farms. The road was rough, filled with stones and holes that slowed farmers each day. Both men were given hoes and baskets to carry earth. Patrick sneered, unused to such labor. "This is the work of peasants," he muttered. Still, he swung his hoe lazily, tossing stones aside. He kept glancing around, making sure the crowd noticed his effort. Raymond, though weary, worked steadily. Sweat ran down his back, but he smiled at the farmers who passed by. "Let me help you carry that," he offered, taking baskets from old women. His sincerity touched many. By evening, the path was smoother where Raymond worked. Patrick's section was half finished, the stones still scattered, yet he boasted loudly, "Did you see how hard I worked? None can match me." The people only exchanged quiet looks. On the second day, the task was fetching water from the distant stream. Each man was to carry jars back for the elders and the widows. Patrick filled his jars, but halfway back, he poured half the water onto the ground so they would be lighter. Smiling proudly, he shouted, "Here is your water." But when the jars were weighed, the truth was clear. Raymond, carrying his full load without complaint, had brought back more. The widows blessed him, saying, "May your kindness never dry." On the third day, the men were asked to teach the children. Patrick told stories of his imagined greatness, boasting of battles he never fought and riches he never owned. The children grew restless, some even laughing at his exaggerations. Raymond, however, gathered them under a tree and told a simple story, a story of a bird that chose love over pride. His voice was gentle, his lesson clear. By the end, the children were clapping and singing. The elders nodded with approval. Each day revealed more. On the fourth, when roofs were being mended, Patrick pretended to work, but left holes behind. Raymond climbed carefully, fixing even where no one asked. On the fifth, Patrick ignored a sick old man who called for help, but Raymond carried him to the healer's hut. By the sixth day, the village already whispered the outcome. The city man works with heart. Patrick works only for show, but Patrick was not finished. That night, he whispered to his friends, his eyes blazing, "Tomorrow is the last day. If I cannot win with strength, I will win with cunning." The stranger must fall. The seventh day dawned. The elders gave the hardest task yet, harvesting yams for the feast. Both men were led to the farm with baskets. Patrick, desperate, tried a trick. He secretly placed rotten yams into Raymond's basket, hoping the elders would think Raymond's harvest was spoiled. When the baskets were presented, the crowd gasped. Raymond's was filled with both good and rotten yams. Patrick smirked, ready to claim victory. But Raymond spoke calmly. "Elders, life gives us both good and bad. What matters is not what is given, but what we choose to keep." He picked up the bad yams, set them aside, and raised the good ones high. "See, the harvest is still plentiful." The crowd roared in approval. Patrick's plan collapsed before his eyes. Elder Thomas rose to his feet, striking the ground with his staff. "The 7 days are complete. We have seen the truth. Raymond has served with humility, patience, and honor. Patrick, you have served with pride and deceit." The people shouted in agreement. Women ululated, children danced, Men clapped their hands. Emily's eyes shone with tears of pride. Patrick's face burned with shame. Yet instead of bowing, he stormed away, vowing silently that his revenge was not yet over. As the sun set, Elder Thomas placed his hand on Raymond's shoulder. "You have proven that love is not bought with riches, nor respect earned with pride. You came a stranger, but today you are counted among us." Raymond bowed deeply. His heart was not proud, but grateful. For the first time, he had found both love and belonging. But in the shadows beyond the celebration, Patrick's envy turned darker still. His defeat had only planted seeds of something far more dangerous. The village celebrated Raymond's victory long into the night. Drums beat, women sang, and the air was thick with roasted yam and laughter. For the first time, Emily smiled without fear, her heart light as she stood beside Raymond. But far from the firelight, Patrick sat alone, his pride broken, his envy burning like dry grass in Harmattan winds. Every cheer for Raymond felt like a knife in his chest. Every smile Emily gave was salt in his wound. He whispered bitterly to himself, 7 days of humiliation, and now they treat him like a king. Number, if the elders will not see the truth, then I will show them in my own way. If I cannot win Emily's love, I will destroy the man she loves. The following morning, Patrick called his 2 closest friends into the forest. His voice was low, his eyes wild. "Tonight, while the village sleeps, we will strike. We will set fire to Emily's farm. When Raymond comes to save her, we will make sure he does not return alive." His friends hesitated. One muttered, "Patrick, this path is dangerous. If the elders discover—" Patrick snapped, "Silence! Are you with me, or do you wish to be known as cowards?" Fear kept them silent. At last, they nodded reluctantly. That night, Emily sat by her small hut, her heart still glowing from the day's joy. Raymond was with her, speaking softly about the future. "Emily, I came here searching for love. But what I found was more than that. I found a home. If you will walk beside me, I promise to honor you for the rest of my life." Her cheeks warmed and the tears filled her eyes. "Yes, Raymond, you have my heart." But before the moment could rest, a sudden smell drifted on the wind. Smoke. Emily's eyes widened. She turned toward her farmland. Flames danced in the distance, devouring the crops she had worked so hard to grow. "My farm!" she cried, rushing forward. Raymond sprang to his feet. "Stay back, Emily. I will handle this." They ran toward the fire, villagers already shouting in alarm. But as Raymond reached the edge of the farm, shadows leapt from the darkness. Patrick and his friends, armed with sticks, surrounded him. "So here you are," Patrick hissed, his face twisted with rage, "the hero of the village. Let us see if you can fight fire and enemies at once." Raymond realized the truth. The fire was no accident. This was Patrick's plan. He clenched his fists, ready to defend himself. The fight erupted under the crackling flames. Patrick swung wildly, his strikes filled with fury. His friends attacked from both sides, forcing Raymond to the ground. Emily screamed, calling for help, but the night swallowed her voice. Just when it seemed Raymond might be overwhelmed, villagers began to arrive, drawn by the smoke. Their torches lit the scene, Patrick standing over Raymond with a stick raised high. "Stop!" Elder Thomas's voice boomed as he stepped forward. The other elders followed, their eyes wide with disbelief. Patrick froze, his weapon trembling in his hand. The crowd's gasps filled the air. Elder Thomas's staff struck the ground. "Patrick, is this how you honor your people? By burning farms? By attacking a man who has done you no harm? Have you fallen so low?" Patrick's pride cracked, but his rage refused to die. "He came here to steal what is mine. Emily belongs to me, not to him." Emily stepped forward, her voice trembling yet clear. "I belong to no one, Patrick. Love is not a prize to be claimed. It is a gift to be given, and my heart belongs to Raymond." The crowd murmured, some with pity for Patrick, others with anger. Elder Thomas's eyes burned with disappointment. "Your heart is blind with envy. Tonight, you have not only shamed yourself, you have endangered this village." Patrick's friends dropped their sticks, trembling with guilt. "We only followed him," one confessed. "He planned it all." The elders nodded grimly. "Tomorrow, judgment will fall." The villagers carried Raymond back to safety, Emily walking at his side, her hands trembling as she held his arm. That night, the fire still smoldered on Emily's farm, but a deeper fire smoldered in every heart, the fire of knowing that envy, if left unchecked, could destroy not just one man, but the entire community. The morning was heavy with silence. No drums beat, no songs were heard. The entire village gathered once more under the great baobab tree, their faces somber. The events of the night still weighed on every heart. Emily's farm burned, Raymond attacked, Patrick's rage laid bare. The elders sat in a solemn circle. Elder Thomas, his staff across his knees, looked at Patrick, who stood before them with bowed head but eyes still burning. Beside him stood Raymond and Emily, their faces weary yet unbroken. Elder Thomas spoke, his voice carrying across the square. "Patrick, son of this soil, you have shamed not only yourself, but the entire village. We gave you a test of honor, but you chose deceit. We gave you time for reflection, but you chose envy. And now you have set fire to a farm and raised your hand against your brother." The people murmured, some with anger, others with pity. Patrick's voice cracked as he shouted, "He stole everything from me. The respect of the people, the love of Emily, everything." Elder Grace, the only woman among the council, shook her head. Her voice was gentle but firm. "Respect is earned, not stolen. Love is given, not forced. What you lost, Patrick, you lost through pride." Patrick's shoulders trembled, but his anger still chained him. He fell silent, unable to answer. Then Elder Thomas turned to Raymond. "And you, Raymond, though a stranger, you came with humility. You worked with your hands, you stood with courage, and you showed that wealth without heart is empty. For this, the village counts you not as a stranger, but as one of us." The crowd erupted in agreement, clapping and cheering. Children shouted his name, women raised ululations, and men nodded with approval. Emily stepped forward, her voice steady though her hands trembled. "Elders, I speak not as one seeking revenge, but as one seeking peace. Patrick wronged me, but I ask that he be forgiven. Let his punishment teach, not destroy." The crowd fell silent at her words. Forgiveness was not easy, but her plea carried weight. Elder Thomas struck his staff against the ground. "So it shall be. Patrick, you will spend the next season serving the widows and orphans, working the fields you once scorned. You will eat only after they have eaten, drink only after they have drunk. This is not to shame you, but to cleanse your heart of pride." Patrick's face fell. Humiliation burned inside him, but there was no escape. He bowed his head, tears gathering in his eyes for the first time. I accept." The elders turned to Raymond and Emily. As for you, may your love be blessed, for it is built not on riches, but on sacrifice and truth. Let your union remind this village that love is not bought with gold, but with honor. The people cheered again, louder than before. Flowers were thrown at Emily's feet, and children danced around Raymond. That evening, as the sun painted the sky in orange and gold, the village gathered for a feast. The burned farm was mourned, but unity was celebrated. Raymond sat with Emily, her hand resting in his. Their eyes met, filled with quiet joy. "Emily, see, Annie," he whispered, "this journey brought me what no city wealth could buy, a love that is true and a family that accepts me." She smiled softly. "And I, who once had nothing, now have everything." Across the square, Patrick sat in silence, his head lowered. For the first time, pride had left his face. Though broken, perhaps seeds of change were being planted within him. The drums beat once more, the voices of the people rising in song. The village had endured envy, deceit, and fire, yet it stood stronger because of truth and forgiveness. And so, under the vast African sky, a story of love and humility was written into the heart of the people, a story that would be told for generations.